Tony Curtis finally breaks silence on Burt Lancaster. Tony Curtis, who was born Bernard Schwartz on June 3, 1925, in New York City, was a very big star in Hollywood's best years. His life and work showed both the sparkle and the tough times of being in the movies. Curtis grew up in a regular family in the Bronx, and his mom and dad were Jewish people who moved there from Hungary. His early life was full of hardship, strength, and never giving up. His family didn't have much money during the Great Depression, and Tony often did small jobs as a kid. This showed he was responsible and driven very early on. This difficult childhood helped him with his strong work ethic, and also gave him a deep sense of feeling and a way to connect with the audience. He often used his own life stories to make his acting feel real and deep. Even with the tough stuff, like his father passing away when he was young, Curtis kept chasing his dreams. He eventually found a way to become one of Hollywood's most loved stars. Tony Curtis's path to becoming an actor was not the usual way, and is very inspiring. After fighting in the United States Navy during World War II, he went to a drama school in New York. He learned acting there from a famous teacher named Erwin Pisser. His early work on stage and his effort to be great at acting made a strong base for a long career that lasted over 60 years. In the late 1940s, people from Hollywood noticed him, and this led to a contract with Universal Pictures, a big movie company. Curtis's first roles, often in cop stories and funny movies, showed off his cool charm, quick jokes, and amazing presence on screen. He quickly became a young actor everyone was talking about. But what truly made him special was his ability to show charm, a bit of sadness, and a lot of energy all at once. This helped him do well in all kinds of movies, from sweet romantic comedies to scary thrillers. Tony Curtis's best years were in the 1950s, which made him a sure-thing leading man in movies. He was the main star in many very successful films, including Sweet Smell of Success in 1957, Some Like It Hot in 1959, and The Defiant Ones in 1958. That last one even got him a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actor. Some Like It Hot, especially, showed how perfectly funny Curtis was, how bravely he took unusual roles, and the great connection he had with his co-stars, Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon. This made the movie a timeless classic that people still love today, decades later. His acting was known for being very flexible. He could be light and funny, intensely dramatic, or quietly thoughtful with equal skill. This ability to change not only got him good reviews from critics, but also made a huge number of people love him, making sure he was among Hollywood's top people. Besides what he did for work, Curtis was known for being very professional, dedicated to his job, and always wanting to try new things and push his limits in his work. He was always looking for parts that were a challenge and let him get better as an actor. Beyond his movie success, Curtis's life also showed his personal strength and his kindness. Even with all his fame, he never forgot where he came from, keeping a close bond with his family and with charities. He often shared his life experiences to help others. His book, American Prince, a memoir, gives a very close look at the man behind the famous person. It tells about the good times and the hard times he went through, from dealing with the big Hollywood studios to facing personal problems and relationships. Tony Curtis's life story is one of changing completely, from a boy in the Bronx to a worldwide star. It shows not only his amazing talent, but also the lasting human qualities of never giving up, staying humble, and being kind. Tony Curtis, one of Hollywood's most charming and long-lasting stars, had a personal life that was just as exciting and dramatic as the characters he played in his movies. This was especially seen in his many marriages, each one giving a look into his life and personality during different times of his career. His first wife was Janet Leigh, a well-known actress famous for her grace, talent, and amazing parts, like her memorable role in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Curtis and Leigh got married in 1951, early on in his growing Hollywood career, when he was moving from small roles to becoming one of the most desired leading men of the 1950s. Their marriage, which lasted until 1962, was talked about a lot by the public, often appearing in the movie gossip papers of the time. It showed both the glamour and the stress of a Hollywood life. Together, they dealt with the pressures of becoming famous and balancing their careers in a quickly changing industry, while also raising a family. Their marriage gave them two daughters, Kelly Curtis and Jamie Lee Curtis, both of whom would later have successful acting careers, continuing the family's acting story. Even though they eventually divorced, their time together left a big mark on both of their lives and careers. After separating from Leigh, Curtis married Christine Kaufman in 1963, a German actress known for her beauty, style, and work in European movies. This marriage started a different chapter for Curtis, connecting him more with the European movie world and letting him explore the international sides of his personal and work life. The marriage lasted until 1968, and they had two daughters, Alexandra and Allegra Curtis. During this time, Curtis balanced his Hollywood fame with a life made richer by European culture, travel, and art discovery. But like many famous marriages, it eventually broke up because of the stress from his demanding career and his personal challenges. Curtis's third marriage, to Leslie Allen in 1968, was maybe his longest and most settled one up until then, lasting 14 years until 1982. This part of his life was marked by a more stable focus on family life, as he looked for calmness after his first two divorces. Allen, though less famous than his previous wives, played a very important part in giving Curtis a stable home life in the often crazy world of Hollywood. Their marriage brought two daughters, Jamie Lee's half-sisters, making his already big family even larger. This marriage showed Curtis's continued wish for a partner and for a normal life, even as he kept dealing with the good and bad times of his career. In 1984, Curtis married Andrea Savio, adding yet another chapter to his complicated love life. This marriage, which lasted 8 years until 1992, happened during a time when Curtis was looking for more thoughtful and grown-up roles in his acting career. Savio, a former model, brought her own sense of style and social contacts into Curtis's life. Their time together, though it ended in divorce, showed the constant theme in Curtis's life of looking for both love and a partner, even during personal struggles and the always-present spotlight of the public eye. Curtis's fifth marriage was to Lisa Deutsch in 1993, a short marriage that ended in divorce just a year later. Even though it was brief, this marriage showed Curtis's never-ending hope for finding a special love as he kept looking for a partner who could share both his personal and work world. Despite how short it was, it showed how complicated his personal life kept being and his willingness to take emotional chances even later in life. Finally, in 1998, Curtis married Jill Vandenberg, a marriage that was the last of his unions. Vandenberg, a successful businesswoman and entrepreneur, shared with Curtis a commitment to family and stability. And this marriage lasted until Curtis's death in 2010. This final marriage can be seen as the end of Curtis's long journey through love and finding a partner, a relationship that gave them support, personal happiness, and a feeling of peace during the later years of his life. Tony Curtis, the famous actor known for his charm, quick mind, and very noticeable presence on screen, has finally started talking about his difficult and many-sided relationship with Burt Lancaster. Lancaster was a star at the same time whose fame, talent, and powerful presence in Hollywood overshadowed many of the projects they shared. Thinking back on how they worked and spent time together, Curtis said, "Burt was one of those rare actors who carried a huge weight on his shoulders, but he did it so gracefully that you almost didn't notice." Curtis remembered that being around Lancaster on set was both inspiring and a little scary. When you walked into a room with Burt, it was impossible not to feel how seriously talented he was. "He took charge of the room without even trying," Curtis said. This showed the huge respect he had for Lancaster's art, even when things were tense. Curtis went on to say that Lancaster's way of acting was very different from his own. Burt was super careful, a perfectionist all the way. Every movement, every sentence, every look had to be right, exactly right. For me, I tended to be more sudden, more fun with my performances. Working with him was a lesson in being careful and exact, Curtis explained. This difference, he said, sometimes caused problems but also helped them grow. Sometimes it was annoying, sure, but looking back, those annoyances taught me more than any class or workshop ever could. Burt had a way of pushing you to see what you weren't good at yet, and then showing you that you could get better than that. He described this push and pull as a kind of unspoken teaching. He never called it teaching, and he definitely never talked down to anyone, but if you paid attention, you learned. I learned a lot from Burt, not just about acting, but about how to act like a star in this business. While Curtis spoke with respect for how professional Lancaster was, he did not hide the fact that they sometimes competed. "There were times when I felt like I was constantly being measured, trying to match the strength and coolness that Burt naturally had," Curtis admitted. "Hollywood is a strange place. It can be competitive, and when you're around someone like Burt, you can't help but feel like you need to step up your game." Yet Curtis stressed that this competition was never mean or personal. It wasn't about being angry, it was about respect. "I wanted to be just as good, and Burt, whether he knew it or not, made me better at my job." He thought about how this tension made some of his most memorable acting moments happen. "I think our interactions, our small competitions, created sparks that showed up on the screen. Some of the best energy in my career came from moments when Burt and I were both pushing ourselves to be our absolute best." Curtis also shared personal, short stories that showed a softer, more human side of Lancaster, balancing his intense on-screen image. Off-camera, Burt could be surprisingly warm and giving. He had a dry sense of humor, the kind that sneaks up on you and makes you laugh when you least expect it. He would talk about his family, his early struggles, the things that made him who he was. Those moments reminded you that behind the bigger-than-life famous person was a man with real worries, real hopes, and a big heart. Curtis said, "These glimpses behind the curtain," Curtis noted, were some of the reasons he felt a deep, lasting respect for Lancaster. You couldn't just see him as Burt Lancaster, the star. You had to see him as Burt Lancaster, the man. And that made every time they met meaningful. In the end, Curtis summed up his complicated feelings toward Lancaster with a mix of admiration, respect, and a little sadness. Burt was a force of nature, a man who left a lasting mark on everyone he met. I've used lessons from him my entire life, and I don't say that lightly. He challenged me, inspired me, and in his own way guided me. Talking about him now, I feel grateful. Not everyone gets to work with someone like Burt, and I did, even if it wasn't always easy. Those experiences shaped me into the actor I became and the man I am today. In July of 2010, the famous Hollywood star Tony Curtis was given some sad medical news. He had chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, or COPD, which is a lung disease that gets worse over time and would slowly make it harder for him to breathe and live his life as fully as before. For a man whose life was all about amazing performances on the big screen, from classic movies to unforgettable roles that made him one of cinema's most charming figures, this news meant a difficult time was starting. Even with his strength and determination, Tony's health kept getting worse over the next few months. Very sadly, on September 23rd of the same year, he passed away from a sudden heart attack. This brought a wonderful life that lasted about 85 years to an end. His death was felt deeply by fans and coworkers alike, who remembered him not only for his huge talent and long-lasting charm, but also for the warmth, humor, and humanity he showed when he wasn't filming. Tony Curtis's death was more than losing a movie legend. It was the end of a special time, a sad reminder of how fragile life is, even for those who seem much bigger than life itself.